It is June 11th, a date that has left deep wounds in the life of Kevin Fox. It was on this day 6 years ago that he buried his 3-year-old daughter, while police were beginning their relentless campaign to blame him for her murder.
This is a story of what happens when police and a community turn on an innocent man. And it comes with a surprise ending. Word of a figure emerging from the past, confessing and giving astonishing details of Riley's last night at home. Here's David Muir.
There's not one part of this story that is not truly unbelievable.
It was just 2 weeks ago, Kevin and Melissa Fox got the call they feared they would never get.
Prosecutors say they have a new suspect.
An arrest in the murder of their 3-year-old daughter, Riley.
I've never dealt with a case, this heart-wrenching, that took so long to get a resolution.
I mean, just to hear those words, we caught your baby's killer. It was pretty emotional.
What did the two of you say to each other?
We just cried together. We were just nothing really to say. It was a lot. Like 1 second we were sitting there just like smiling, and then the next minute crying so hard that you couldn't even breathe.
For any parent, the loss of a child is crushing, but for the Foxes, it hardly ended there. Because they say that instead of hunting for the real murderer, investigators were consumed with the notion that Kevin, the father, was the killer.
I know that they did what they did to Kevin on purpose. And I know that because they did that, they almost completely ruined our chances of ever knowing what happened to our daughter. And so I hate them for that, because it wasn't a mistake. It was on purpose.
Their ordeal began the morning of June 6, 2004, in this modest house in Wilmington, Illinois, about 60 miles southwest of Chicago.
We were just a happy, young family.
They had 2 children, 3-year-old Riley and 6-year-old Tyler.
So Tyler came into your room and woke you up?
Yeah, he shook my leg and said, "Dad." And I said, "What's up, buddy?" And he said, "Dad, Riley's gone."
Melissa was away that weekend, taking part in a walk for breast cancer in Chicago, so Kevin began searching for Riley himself. He thought perhaps Riley had wandered next door to play with a friend, or maybe she was hiding in the bushes, but he couldn't find her.
So then I started panicking, and then I kept telling myself, this can't be.
40 minutes later, Kevin called the police.
I woke up this morning and my daughter's nowhere to be found. How old is she? 3? You're kidding me.
The police began searching too, but found nothing.
I would never, ever in a million years wish for any parent to go through it.
Melissa found out about her missing little girl when she called Kevin to check in on the family. By the time she rushed home, nearly the entire town had already heard that little Riley was missing.
How did people respond?
Everybody was so supportive. I mean, I can't thank everyone enough. It was really unbelievable.
We're a town that comes together in happiness and sadness.
The turnout was a testament to just how close this community is. Kevin and Melissa Fox grew up here. They were high school sweethearts.
I met Kevin my freshman year, his junior year, at a volleyball game.
Yeah, actually, she called me that night and asked me to homecoming.
After high school, they married. But when Tyler and Riley came along, Kevin says he found his true calling, fatherhood.
I feel like that's what I was put on this earth to do, honestly. That's my joy in life.
Like so many fathers, Kevin cherished his little girl.
Big brown eyes, the way she looked at you, her smile.
Little Riley served as the flower girl when her Uncle Chad got married. As she walked down the aisle of the church, she didn't stop, running straight into the arms of the best man, her father, who was standing in the front of the church.
It was fun.
And straight to her dad, right?
Yeah.
It was the last time the family would be photographed together. On the night before Riley disappeared, the sequence of events would prove pivotal. With Melissa at that walk, Kevin made plans to go to a festival in Chicago with his in-laws, leaving the children with their grandmother.
And then we went to the festival and stayed there for a while, then went back to Wilmington.
I know that you were partying somewhat. I mean, how big of an issue was alcohol that night?
It wasn't a big issue at all. I had some beers. I was definitely not wasted.
Kevin said he couldn't drink too much because he needed to pick up the children. It was about 1 a.m. when Kevin returned home with Tyler and Riley, both fast asleep. He put Tyler on the chair in the living room and Riley on the couch, covering her with that yellow blanket.
The kids were sleeping in the living room.
Right. Yeah.
And you went to bed.
Yes.
And what's the next thing that you remember?
Tyler waking me up and said that Riley was gone.
At about 3:30 that afternoon, volunteer searchers Christine Lopez and Lisa Romano were scouring the banks of this creek in a public park just 2.5 miles from the Fox house.
I can't even explain it. I just had this really bad feeling about this place, and that's why I came here.
And then Christine noticed what she first thought was a bag of groceries in the water.
And that's when I saw her. She was face down in the creek.
But the police withhold that information from Kevin and Melissa, first bringing them in for questioning before giving them the terrible news.
Do you remember the moment that you found out?
I think we just both collapsed. But it was just crushing. I couldn't even imagine what life would be like without her.
I think I punched the wall a couple times, the black wall. I didn't want to believe it.
It would be hard to imagine a grislier crime. Riley had been sexually assaulted, bound and gagged with duct tape, and then drowned. Through their grief, the family resolved to find the killer.
I want to do what I can for Riley. She's not here anymore, but she's still my daughter.